Welcome everybody to Men on the Main Line. I'm Elbrud Jones. You, like me, might be excited that the Super Bowl lineup is set. It's going to be Joe Burrow's Cincinnati Bengals and Matt Stafford's Los Angeles Rams. I almost said Detroit Lions. We know that's not the case. But on Sunday the 13th, they're matching up in the Super Bowl. So some major questions loom. What are we going to eat Super Bowl Sunday? Who are the halftime show performers? What will the best commercials be? And who's going to win the game? We're wondering about that too. But this show, my guest is Kim Cuthbert, owner of a staple of the Main Line's Sweet Tooth. Her bakery is Sweet Jazmine's, located at 15 Bridge Avenue in Berwyn. Thank you for being here. I really am glad to talk to you today.
I'm happy to be here.
Sweet things is what we're talking about, and
Right.
the things that men love to eat that are sweet, and the things that men love to eat that are sweet that can be eaten for the Super Bowl.
For the Super Bowl.
So I want to start with a generic question. What do guys love to eat generally that's sweet that they might get from you at your bakery?
Well, it's interesting. I will honestly say the smaller items like cookies, not so much some cupcakes, but also pies. The one thing that the 22 years I've been in business, even before, I just find that we do more birthday pies.
Interesting.
Really, for a lot of the men versus birthday cakes, and it just seems that it's my own personal information that I've been gathering through the years, but
Okay.
but it does kind of fall that way, and it's just it's interesting.
In terms of these pies, are they favoring the sweetest cherry or the apples with cinnamon? Are they favoring different kinds of pies or those items?
I would say the apple pie. We don't offer cherry pie. That's a personal reason.
Say
that
more.
is not my favorite, and for me, I have to embrace what I'm selling. You know, I don't have to love it, but I have to like it. And I have to be willing to eat it, and that's so. I kind of caved with I'll put cherries on cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
That's my happy medium. But cheesecake is another thing that the gentlemen seem to prefer.
Gravitate toward, really?
towards more so than cake, like pies, cakes, cookies, the smaller items. But even at a Super Bowl, you want those things that you can kind of just eat and go and not really be accountable for any of the calories that day, right? You don't want to think about it, which you will worry about it the next day when we're all trying to work out because
but not while we're actually eating the thing.
There.
So in terms of this February month and this Super Bowl season, have there been items that folks have tended to order? Thinking about the game specifically, what have you been making recently or in the past regarding baked goods that have a football theme or Super Bowl theme?
Usually it's if you're going into like a half sheet or a quarter sheet, that means you're having a decent amount of guests to your house. But in the past, and I will say carrot cake is also
Really
one of those things. Yeah, there's one gentleman every year gets his carrot cake, but it's a lot. It's easy because you're dealing with a rectangular shape, so you can kind of create the football field on there. It's a little more simple, but I think for us, a lot of people. If they're coming to us, they're coming to us for more upscale desserts. So in order to incorporate with their theme, they're usually playing with the colors. So it might just be, they might get our normal mousse cake or they might get our normal cupcakes, but we're putting the colors. Usually when the Eagles are involved, we're doing our white and green, but but we still do the white and green, for people who are still in the spirit of supporting the Eagles, even though they're not playing. But a lot of times it's whatever colors for that team that we can match up without kind of, you want the taste to still be there. So sometimes honestly some of the colors might be a little darker. So we say we're not going to be exactly, because I still want it to taste great. You still want
So I'm
the
going to ask
integrity to be there.
a non-chef question, which is, so if it's green, it's not necessarily lime flavored.
Correct. Right. It's it's green food coloring. So we kind of try to stop to the point where if I can taste it, I don't want to go any darker. Or if it's just an accent of it, I don't mind putting that on a cake and some little dots. But if somebody were to ask me to, we don't do red velvet cake for that reason, because there's so much dye in it. So that's for us. So we do a chocolate velvet cake. So it's just it's got to be a happy medium. I want to get the customer what they want, but I want to feel good about what's leaving our store and representing Sweet Jazmine's as well.
So I want to come back to the Super Bowl in a minute, but just in terms of your family, what do your husband and son and other family members really love to eat that you make, and that you over time have made a point of getting good at making because they like it?
I would say my son loves, my husband and my son in particular aren't real big dessert eaters.
Really?
Yeah.
Now what are their names?
Jordan and Chris. Jordan is my son, Chris is my husband, and Chris is more savory. So he's not really, if I make him a pie, it's like not too much, or he likes the custards, like the boss, like pastry cream, that kind of thing, not so much, and the cookies, just the simple shortbread cookies. But he's not real big into a lot of cake. Jordan's favorite right now is our cheesecake with homemade lemon curd. So he doesn't, I stopped doing birthday cake, so now it's a birthday cheesecake for him because he'll request that, or the sweet potato muffin. I mean, that's his thing.
The cheesecake is a layered thing. Does it have a particular base? Is there a particular crust, the one that he likes?
The one that it's a traditional graham cracker crust and our vanilla cheesecake. And then it's topped with our homemade lemon curd. So he eventually developed a palate, which I was amazed that he loved the lemon curd, because I'm thinking, you are the pickiest. You are like Mikey for Life cereal. I used to think, like, this is my son, this is what I'm living.
Right.
And then when all of a sudden he wanted these flavors that to me are a little more discerning palate, right? Then all of a sudden he loved this. So I was like, okay, maybe there is hope.
That is interesting.
So, now he's expanded his repertoire, which is nice.
So this notion that you're making the upscale baked goods and men are having appetites for it is really interesting to me. Yeah. I don't think of myself as having a pretty special palate. I tend to eat anything.
What you're given?
I eat what I'm given.
Right. Fair.
And so tell me a little bit about what that means in terms of the finer baked goods that you make that might be compared to a run-of-the-mill pastry shop or what we probably would find in a grocery store. Right. You're making stuff that is more special than that and specialized. Yeah,
I mean, obviously the difference for us, I mean, maybe not obviously, but if you're going into our store, I mean, I hope that people understand that we're using pure vanilla extract, and there's a certain flavor that comes from that versus using an imitation extract. That we're using all butter, and I always say fat equals flavor. There's fat in butter. Fat equals flavor. So when people ask me, I mean, you take that out, you take out some of the flavor. And so there's nothing wrong with a if you want to go to the Acme but you're dealing with more processed food. I mean, if you're to look at our recipes, which are called formulas, when I went to school, they called them formulas because baking is scientific. Right. That's why when I cook, I feel free. I'm not held to this. Okay, this can only have 1 teaspoon of this, and if I leave that out, I know what's going to happen. My cake's not going to rise. But for cooking, you can kind of feel your way through it a little bit, and experiment a little bit. But for us, it's my formulas are the ingredients are short a lot of times versus if you're going to a grocery store chain, there's going to be a list because obviously it's sitting on the shelf. They have to have preservatives. They're baking it to keep it there longer. So the difference for us, and you hope that your audience understands the quality of the baked goods. That when you eat that dessert, when you bite that cake, it's gonna melt in your mouth because there's butter. Even if it's a denser pound cake, when you take that crumb, it's like all the flavors are just kind of mellowing out there versus having other product that's so processed. And some people are so used to it being processed that they might not like our stuff, to be honest, because they're not used to they're used to a different flavor or something that you grew up with. It might be something that this is what I've had since I was 5, and that's what I know, and it's delicious. I mean, you can't tell me otherwise. We've had people, I'm like, okay. We like what we like, and that's fine. You've got butter cookies that you've made with sprinkles, or jimmies as they're called in Philly. That's a hot debate. You've got other items that you've made. You've got Eagles Eclairs. You've got baked goods you've made for occasions. I'm wondering if the shapes and sizes of the items that you're baking
is impacted by the ingredients. Or I'll flip it and say, knowing that you've got to make small cookies, but they're supposed to be in the shape of footballs or baseballs,
Right.
does that influence what you decide to mix and put in it? How does knowing what you're designing shape-wise and appearance-wise influence what you put in ingredients-wise and what you create?
I would say ingredients-wise, that's not so much in the calculation, because for me, if I'm making shortbread and it's a dough that's softer that you roll out, kind of like not pie dough, but you roll it out similar to pie. It's harder because it's softer and there's more sugar in it, so you kind of have to work with it quicker. So whether I do a square or a rectangular shape or a football, the ingredients are the same. And for me in baking, I also don't like to overcomplicate things. So I always joke saying if I have a cookbook, it would be very short because you would have one cheesecake. And that's how I kind of layer my stuff. When I have a chocolate cake in my bakery, if you say, what's chocolate mousse cake, what's the difference between that? The chocolate cake is still the same. I mean, for me, I don't believe in why would I make 10 chocolate cakes unless there's really going to be a distinction between them. You know, is there a real difference? Now, if you have one thing that's really good, really basic, you should be able to layer on top of that, which is like, I love ice cream. When I go to a place and I try ice cream, I get their vanilla and people look at me like I'm crazy. Why would you come to an ice cream place that has like 40 flavors and you're trying their vanilla? I said, well, I'll be back, but if their vanilla is good, if their most basic flavor is good, I can only imagine if you're just building on top of that, what everything else is going to taste like. So you tell me the vanilla is good, I know that chocolate hazelnut's got to be like out of this world.
Amazing.
You know, it should. So so basically, the ingredients for us are the same. It's a matter of now if you're having a lot of people over, you don't want these huge cookies. I think of the end user. Now, is it going to get wasted because you're eating so much food, so you only want them but so big? If they're individual take-home kind of favors, that's one thing. But if they're eating them, yeah, it's nice to have something that's slightly bigger, but at the same time, you want to be practical with it too. And you want to make sure you have enough for all your guests to enjoy the cookies and also not get full too quickly.
That makes sense. If you've got a spread at a game, oftentimes you're going to have salty food like chicken or chips along with drinks from beer to soda to water. Are there pastries, baked goods, desserts that go really well with the Super Bowl spread? If we're thinking of a typical Super Bowl spread as chicken wings, dips, and I'm thinking salty things.
Right. Chili.
Chili, right.
I try, I mean, I do know that there was just something that I did where they were pairing up like chocolate with different wine. And
you did this for somebody recently?
Yeah, it was a fundraiser and it was great. So it is there to do. There are certain foods, certain drinks that might pair up better. That's not I'm not going to pretend to be in that realm, kind of thing. And so I know that there are some things, if you have something that's super, super sour, and then you go and have something that's really sweet, like your taste buds are going to be off. It's like when they give you an intermezzo, and they do that because they don't want your palate to be predisposed to something else because that taste is going to be different.
That makes sense.
So it's. I mean, we actually had someone that didn't realize they had our lemon pie, and I'll say this: they called to complain, and I said I took it home. No, and they realized they actually called us back the next day, and they said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't realize we had something that was such an opposing taste that it just heightened it, that it seemed like it was so tangy, but it really wasn't. It's that they went from like A to Z without having, the middle. But we've always tried to just I'm big on having a balance of things. So if you're going to get desserts, I'd say you always want to have chocolate. I mean, for me, if you're asking me, you're having a big party. Nuts are great, but you have to be careful because the allergies are big now. So for me, I get protective. I'm like, if you know your audience and you know that everyone's going to ask, like, does that have nuts? Just if you don't need them, maybe for that one, just stay away from it. Just because. But I always say you want something that's a little bit lighter. You cannot not have chocolate. You know, so if you're getting 6 desserts, like something has to be chocolatey, something should be a little bit fruity, maybe something have a different texture that's custard or like eclairs. So trying to kind of, you know, meet everybody where they might like, because everyone likes things different. Some, like I said, my husband likes the custard filling, so he loved the eclairs.
Right.
Wouldn't go for the brownies, but somebody else who loves chocolate and something that's really fudgy is going to go for that. Some people just want a simple, good cookie. And while it seems like it's overrated, if you have a really good cookie, like a shortbread cookie or a butter cookie that's all butter, that's perfect for those that aren't big into desserts, don't want something that's super, super sweet, but they still want to cheat. They still want a little bit of something. And that's where cookies are good, where they're just kind of, you almost think of them as like a tea or coffee cookie.
Okay.
I'm not even saying chocolate chip cookie, but like a shortbread cookie where you're just dealing with something that's very, very basic, few ingredients, but delicious and melts in your mouth. And that's so kind of running the gamut with all the desserts that you offer.
So just tell me the basics about your business. If I were in Super Bowl 2016 versus today, what do you have by way of storefront and online and ordering? How does someone order from you and pick up? And then how is it now?
Well, I'll say before, I mean, we had our, you'd come in, we have a retail space where you come in and we'd have cookies and different items that you could just pick up. We always have cake slices, brownies, pound cake slices for those that don't like all the buttercream. Pound cake slices are a little more traditional cupcakes. So we try to have a variety of items that you can choose from. Just if you just didn't place an order, you're just craving something, you can walk in.
So it's just on the shelf at the Berwyn location?
Yeah, okay. So basically Wednesday, and I always tell people we kind of put stuff out how people shop. Most people are coming Friday, Saturday. So we definitely go heavier with our selection, our variety of items. I always tell someone, if you're ever looking for something specific, because I know what it's like to want food and crave something, and you walk in there and that shelf is empty.
It's not there.
I said, please, if you're only coming to us for one thing, call us. We are happy to set stuff aside. So we've had to kind of adjust where, during COVID, and I'll share this short story where, we closed for 6 weeks because we weren't sure what was going on. And I guess technically we were, a essential business. Yeah, I mean, some can argue otherwise, but it's desserts. Do we all need dessert? Of course, but
I think some of us need dessert.
So to
make us happy during pandemic times.
Right. But I was nervous and didn't know. So we closed for the 6 weeks, and I was home with my son and making more meals that I never made, fried rice, just experimenting. So for me, I had to say what good is going to come out of this, because that's the only way any of us, I think, can make sense of all of this sometimes is, what am I going to learn, right? What am I going to learn when bad things happen or crazy things happen or disruptions in your life? You try to say, what's the takeaway?
Yes.
So I got to spend more time at home with my family, making meals, making rolls, my Aunt Bessie's rolls, and my son would count them, literally.
Count the rolls?
He was like, okay, as if they were just for him. So it was very funny. So, I said, Jordan, I didn't know these were specifically for you.
And how old is he again? What age range?
He's 19 now.
Okay.
And we were sitting, talking, and he knows the business. And he said, Mom, so if you're not open, how are we making money? And I said, hence the gray hair, Jordan. And I said, this is where you figure it out. You put your big girl pants on. And so we I kind of thought it out.
Give him a chef hat and a spatula.
Exactly. Put him to work. But I was nervous about even bringing anybody else into the shop. But I said, what do I need to do to survive this? I need to pay my basic rent.
Yes.
And utilities.
Yes.
I needed, so I said, okay. So I opened an online store. I went to GoDaddy. I got an online store. I knew kind of what I needed. I even asked my landlord, I said, can I defer this, which a lot of places were doing just to make sure. I was caught up. I didn't really even have to, because I did the online store, and you get nervous when you're down for 6 weeks, oh my gosh, are they going to come back?
Right.
Did they go somewhere else? But where else were they going to go? Because everybody's
closed, so you didn't lose customers.
But I had it so I could get notifications on my phone when the orders were coming through, and I think we sold out in 2 hours. So
that's fantastic.
The first week we opened back up, for the first few weeks, I just sold the muffin batter. Not even the muffins, because I knew it was just me. So I'd say, if I'm in there by myself, what can I reasonably do to pay my expenses, still have a business when things get back to normal? And I had an open, honest conversation that I involved my son in, because I wanted him to know, like, I don't want to hide any of this from you. I want you to understand that this is a struggle. We will get through this.
Yes.
But this is how you critically think.
And as
through a
a
process.
business entrepreneur, you're a one-woman shop.
Right.
You do your books, open your brick and mortar store, buy all of your ingredients, cook everything, and you are the customer service person when people come.
Right. I mean, we are a small but mighty crew is what I tell people sometimes when they're wondering why we can't.
You are a small but mighty crew.
It's myself, and I have another full-time young lady, Elsa, who's wonderful. I've had more through the years, but right now it's a slim staff, so we knock out a lot. But no, I literally, my logo for my son is kind of, it was an animation of him, a character of him, like juggling all the pastries. So it's, but I said, that's how I feel. Like, you feel like you're wearing all hats, where you're just, you're if somebody were to call Joe, can I speak to the manager? Hold, please. Hi. I mean, I feel like it's a bad, like, Lucille sitcom or something where it's the same person answering every single line, kind of thing. But kind of part of the nature of small business.
You are making it go, and I applaud you.
Thank you.
I also can say it's delicious because I've had it. Right. So
thank you.
You can get that testimonial. Valentine's Day is coming up. It's Black History Month, President's Day. What are some of the other things that you're going to get to make? And are any of the things that you're making things that you've made since childhood? I mean, have you been baking forever?
I have been baking ever since, literally, the Betty Crocker cooking oven. I mean, I've told this story before, but it's true. I think my parents finally were tired of reordering these mixes that you throw water in and cook with a light bulb. And they finally probably let me sooner use a real oven, because I was serious. I enjoyed it. It was.
And so you're around how old when you're using a real oven? Probably
8.
Wow.
Probably 8. And they knew, like, and I knew my way around the kitchen. I mean, there was never a time when, if it was somebody's barbecue or, aunt's house, my house, we were baking, cooking. So it was very much a part of, what we did, and I enjoyed it. And, as I got older, I tried to, even in college, I would make apple pie, and we'd do picnics, and I'd make Sunday brunch. And so it was always there, and I truly tried to get it out of my system as a profession, to be honest, because I knew I wasn't, I was aware of the hours, and I was aware of the schedule, and I was aware that I would probably be leaving at work before most people and home after most people. And it's just the nature of the business. It's not like I can take my work home and say, well, let me get work home first, and let me get Jordan down, and let me continue baking in my house. Right. I mean, everything has to get done there.
No matter what.
So I really did try to get out of my system, but I loved it. And
well, you've gotten accolades and you've gotten recognition. Tell me the story about how someone actually shared some of your great baked goods with Philly native Will Smith.
Yeah, well, that was like Planes, Trains, and Automobile movie, because my friend Lori Wilson, who was with NBC, and she was doing the I Am Legend press junket. So she's like, let me take some muffins there. So it was delayed. My parents got lost and stuck in traffic. So she got the muffins to California and did the interview. So they taped it. They're taping it, and she really isn't supposed to, as I understand, give a business a plug. I understand that they should be paying for that. Sure. So he was the one who was kind enough to kind of, she said, I just want to bring you something from Philly that you probably wouldn't have. These are my favorite. And I think kind of asking her, what's the name of the bakery? And it's sweet, and you'd hear like barely, and he's like, Sweet Jazmine. And I thought, this is really amazing. And he's holding the interview as he's eating the muffin and chewing the muffin, and I think my dad said I must have seen that like 1,000 times. Just watch, because it's really
We're gonna
neat
let people see it,
to see somebody local that somebody local who's on the big screen.
Right.
Just give a shout out to a smaller business that that
is coming up and doing amazing things, but is not as widely known, obviously, as Will Smith.
I got the chance to go to Los Angeles and talk to Smith, one of Philadelphia's most famous sons. And when I did, I took him a little something from home. Sweet Jasmine sweet potato muffins.
I'm about to kiss you in your mouth, girl.
Aren't those so good? I had to bring you those because they're my favorite, and that's the only thing that you wouldn't already have.
Wow.
So.
So I am Legend. It's the kind of movie, it's scary, it's emotional.
I'm sitting there watching this
really
movie.
good.
Isn't that good?
All right, go.
So I'm
like
watching
that?
this.
You like that? Well, I work out a little bit, girl. I try to keep in shape,
Those sweet potato muffins probably won't
no,
help,
sweet potato muffins didn't help. Well, what you do is they help you carb up. That was my carb up for my run tomorrow.
Just to wrap up, I wanted to ask if there were any other things around this time that you wanted to share about your store so that folks know, again, how to order from you, what you love making, and what you think they're gonna love if they're ordering baked goods from you.
Oh, geez, that it's like picking your favorite child. See, luckily I have one, so I can never make that. We'll never have that problem. But I honestly say, like, everything that I make, that we make, I would stand 100% behind. It might not be the first thing I order, but anything that's in that bakery. So when somebody comes in, they're like, "What's good?" I'm like, "Everything's good." They're like, "Oh, it can't all be good." I said, "Well, I wouldn't sell it. I'm not a salesperson. Like, I'm just, I lead with my heart and my passion, and if I know something is really good, even if I don't like it, I might say, look, this coconut cake is not my favorite, but it's really like, I take it home now. Before that used to be like the last thing on my list. So we always try to find out, like, what do you like? Are you like team chocolate or team vanilla? So when people come in, I usually, because when I'm trying to narrow them down or give them like the 5-second tour, trying to figure out what they like, I try to let people know if they're coming, the specials. Social media is wonderful for that because I can do a quick thing saying, hey, we have OMG buns today or we have donuts today, which we don't do that often. And then we have them, literally I can click and then the phone's ringing. So it is fun to kind of see that instantaneous, and allows me to do things, not be so like monotonous with things. It allows me to put different specials in and not get bored and get to do other things that I don't. So I can go off of my menu a little bit, and that's where I can still be creative, even though it's like, oh, well, you're same cake, same brownies. Yeah, it allows me to do different things and speak to a lot of people, but I still have to, at the end of the day, I still have to like it. Yes. I don't have to love it, but I still have to be able to enjoy it and let people experience it through what I'm telling them if they haven't had it yet.
That sounds great. I think there are going to be some Super Bowl parties that are going to have some fantastic sweets if they order through you. I'm going to ask you this last question in the last couple seconds we've got. So are you Team Los Angeles Rams or Team Cincinnati Bengals?
I like the colors for the Rams better. I'm sorry, my husband would kill me.
Colors for the Rams?
They're just brighter. They're a little more festive. I have no skin in the game whatsoever. I mean, although I do, from what I'm understanding, the Bengals were like the comeback.
Yes.
Kids. So because my heart leads there, the underdog, I would have to say probably the Bengals for the story. And that they were like a surprise to. And now I'm not acting like I know all this. My husband's keeping me informed on all of this, but it was a surprise when I guess Kansas they lost to Kansas City, right? Yeah. So I'd have to for that. If normally I'd go on on the team maybe, but on this one I'm going to go for the story that it's just nice to see the underdog kind of get a chance.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming, giving us tips. I appreciate you describing things related to baking that I am unfamiliar with, but totally enticed by. And you're making me want to order and have my own party that's going to have a lot of great desserts that my sweet tooth desires, but that my waistline shouldn't have, but I don't care because Super Bowl, February 13th, I'm going all out.
That's right. Calorie-free day. It doesn't count.
Calorie-free day,
yes,
it does not count.
It does not count.
Kim, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate this.
And everybody, Men on the Main Line is grateful that you tuned in to watch. Again, Sweet Jazmine's, all the sweets that you decide to assemble along with the other foods. I want to know This is Elbrud Jones saying thanks for watching Men on the Main Line. Have a good one.